first thing you'll need is polymer clay. I'm using Premo Accents in translucent. You'll also need a rolling pin, plastic straws, you can get them from Starbucks. I have some various clay tools. This is optional, I have an X-Acto knife. I have these plastic thumb cover thingies, you'll see why I use them. An elephant ear scraper, a pair of scissors, mine are from Fiskars, chalk pastels of whichever colors that you like, some brushes, try to pick acrylic ones or any brushes that have denser bristles, watercolors, and mine is from Winsor and Newton. And this is also optional, I have some floral wire. Starting off with the clay, you want to warm it up and condition it in your hands. Depending on which clay that you use, you may require more kneading or less kneading. You'll be able to tell when it's ready. Once the clay is warmed up and pliable, use your rolling pin and roll it into as thin as you can make it. If you're like me, you drink Starbucks all the time and you like to save the straws, take a straw and cut it into an inch section. Using the straw piece, you're going to use it as like a cookie cutter and cut out tiny circles. Sometimes I like to make lots of roses all at once, so I like to protect my thumb so I don't get a little ring from the straw. Using my elephant ear scraper, I'm going to scrape the clay off of the table. I'm going to individually take every single circle out of the clay. These are going to be your petals. Sorry to anyone who has any trypophobia from this. I apologize if I go in and out of focus. It was really difficult to film this portion. Starting with one circle, I'm going to flatten it out in between my fingers and roll it into the center of the rose. Taking each circle one by one, I'm going to flatten them out and roll them against the center of the rose. Try to overlap each petal slightly over the last petal that you just placed. Repeat this step until you're happy with the size of your rose. If you have any tearing while you're trying to place your petals, keep them. I find that it looks more natural that way. Once you're satisfied with your rose, you want to take your fingers and slowly roll the bottom part of the rose. This will allow all the petals to be together and also to slightly open them. Taking whatever tool you prefer, cut off the bottom portion of the rose. Taking whichever chalk pastels you like, I'm using a peach color and a pink color. I'm going to use a dense brush and brush on the peach color towards half of the rose. And using the pink color, I will be dusting this over the other portion of the rose. If this is as far as you want to go, you can bake or cure the rose and your rose would be complete. Like I said earlier, I'm sorry for how I was filming it. It made it very difficult to make pretty roses. Here is another one that I made off camera. I find that rolling the end of the rose really helps with opening up the petals. You can also use your fingers to slightly open them up yourself. You don't have to start off with translucent clay. You can definitely use other colored clays, but I find that using translucent makes the roses look more realistic. If you want to make your roses have stems on them, taking some floral wire, I'm going to insert it into the bottom of the roses. Very carefully, you're going to pinch the bottom of the rose so that it slowly covers the wire. If you just stick the wire into the rose, there is a possibility that the wire will fall out. You're going to bake or cure the roses according to the instructions of the clay that you're using. I'm going to use my watercolors next. Mine are from Winsor and Newton. You don't have to use the ones that I'm using, but higher quality watercolors are definitely more pigmented. I'm mixing up a coral pinkish color and slightly washing the inside of the rose with the color. For extra detail, you could also take an acrylic paint. I'm using Hooker's Green and painting the underside of the rose. Once everything is dry, you have finished your basic rose stem. You can make as many as you want to make a bouquet, or use this technique to make all types of other roses. Adding these roses into a tiny glass bottle with some dried flowers makes a really pretty arrangement. You can also take this technique and color them differently to look like succulents. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!